When I look back now, I still wonder if it was bravery or foolishness that drove me to make the choice I did. My name is Emily Carter. I am 41 years old, and for the longest time I thought I had the perfect marriage. I married my high school sweetheart, Daniel Carter, when I was 23, and for nearly 2 decades, I believed we had built something unshakable. We had a lovely suburban home in Ohio, 2 children who were already teenagers, and a reputation among our friends as the couple who had it all figured out. But beneath the picture-perfect surface, my heart was restless. Life had become predictable, almost mechanical. Daniel worked long hours at his accounting firm, and when he came home, his attention was often swallowed by paperwork or exhaustion. We rarely went out on dates anymore. Conversations turned from dreams and hopes to bills and responsibilities. I still loved him deeply, but I began to feel invisible. One evening, I was cleaning up after dinner when I caught sight of myself in the kitchen window. My reflection startled me. I saw a woman who looked tired, worn down, and older than her years. That was when the first whisper entered my mind. What happened to the daring, adventurous Emily I used to be? I couldn't stop thinking about it. The question gnawed at me during sleepless nights. I realized I had buried my desires, my passions, and my individuality under the heavy blanket of routine. I wanted to feel alive again, to test my limits, to push myself beyond the cage I had built for years. But I didn't know how. The opportunity came in a way I never expected. Daniel's best friend, Mark Turner, had recently gone through a painful divorce. He started coming around more often, seeking comfort and company. Mark had always been close to our family, but after his separation, his visits became almost weekly. He'd bring over pizza, help the kids with homework, or watch football with Daniel. He was charming, funny, and somehow carried an energy that Daniel had long since stopped showing me. And then there was Sophie Miller, my childhood friend who had moved back into town. Sophie was vibrant, single, and endlessly curious. She loved asking me questions about my marriage, about Daniel, about my life. She would laugh at how boring I had let myself become, and she often teased me that I needed to live a little. "You've always been the safe one, Emily," she'd say, her green eyes sparkling. "When are you going to do something wild?" Between Mark's presence and Sophie's encouragement, I felt like I was being pulled into a storm of emotions I couldn't quite control. It all came to a head one Saturday night. Daniel had gone out of town for a work conference, leaving me alone in the house. Mark came over with a bottle of wine, and Sophie joined us after dinner. At first, it was innocent, just laughter, old stories, and music playing in the background. But as the night wore on, I found myself feeling something I hadn't felt in years, a sense of freedom. Sophie leaned closer to me and whispered, "See? This is the Emily I've been missing. The one who used to dance in the rain with me, the one who wasn't afraid of anything." Mark looked at me with a softness that shook me to my core. "You deserve to be happy, Emily," he said quietly. That night, I crossed a line I never thought I would. I invited them, both of them, into my world in a way that tested every boundary I had ever believed in. It wasn't about love, not in the traditional sense. It was about feeling alive again, about daring myself to do something reckless, something that shattered the quiet prison I had built. In that moment, I thought I was reclaiming myself. But the truth was, I was planting the seeds of destruction. The guilt came the very next morning. I woke up with a pounding headache, not just from the wine, but from the weight of my choices. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a stranger. How could I look at Daniel when he came back home? How could I face my children, knowing what I had done? For weeks, I tried to bury it. I told myself it was just one night, a mistake, something that didn't have to define me. But secrets have a way of festering, and the more I tried to hide it, the more it consumed me. Sophie kept calling. Mark kept stopping by, and I felt trapped in a web of my own making. Daniel noticed. He wasn't a fool. One evening, he confronted me while we were folding laundry. "Emily," he said, his voice low, "you've been different lately. Distant. Is there something you're not telling me?" My heart raced, and for a moment, I wanted to confess everything. But I couldn't. I shook my head, forcing a smile. I'm just tired, Daniel. That's all. But inside, I was breaking. It all unraveled a month later. Mark, perhaps feeling guilty himself, distanced from Daniel. Their friendship crumbled, and Daniel couldn't understand why. Sophie, on the other hand, began pushing me to choose between my old life and the new thrill I had tasted. I realized then how dangerous the game had become. The truth came out in the ugliest way possible. Daniel found a message on my phone, one I had forgotten to delete. It wasn't explicit, but it was enough. Enough to raise suspicions, enough to crack the foundation of trust we had built over decades. I will never forget the look in his eyes when he confronted me. Hurt, betrayal, anger. Emily, he whispered, his voice shaking. How could you? In that moment, I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. I had no defense, no excuse that could justify the pain I had caused. The man who had loved me faithfully, who had built a life with me, stood before me broken because of my choices. The weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. Daniel moved into the guest room. Our children sensed the tension, though we tried to shield them from the truth. I went through waves of denial, anger at myself, grief, and shame. I thought about leaving, about starting over, but deep down I knew I still loved Daniel. What I had mistaken for freedom was nothing but self-destruction. Testing my limits hadn't liberated me. It had nearly destroyed me. Slowly, painfully, Daniel and I began the process of healing. It wasn't easy. We went to counseling. We had late-night conversations that left us both in tears. Trust, once broken, is not easily rebuilt. But Daniel, in his quiet strength, chose forgiveness. Not because I deserved it, but because he believed in the vows we had made. As for Mark and Sophie, they drifted out of my life. Our friendship was shattered beyond repair. And maybe that was for the best. Today, years later, I share this story not because I am proud of it, but because it taught me the most painful lesson of my life. Testing your limits sounds exciting, but when it comes at the cost of your integrity, your family, and your peace, it is a price too high to pay. I am still married to Daniel. We are not the same couple we once were. We are scarred, but stronger. I no longer chase recklessness to feel alive. Instead, I've learned that real freedom comes from honesty, love, and choosing to nurture what truly matters. And if you ask me now whether I regret inviting them into my life that night, my answer is simple. Yes. More than anything. But regret, too, can be a teacher. Because sometimes it takes nearly losing everything to realize the value of what you had all along.